Hello, everybody. I think we can get started now. My name is David Apple. I'm with Flycast Partners, and I'll be your host for today's presentation. And today we're going to be discussing ways to make your CMDB a reality. For this discussion, we have two key speakers on the line with us. We have Virima's Director of Sales, Will Johnson, on the line. And Will has over 20 years experience in the help desk and IT service management space, specifically with a focus on CMDB. And then our next speaker will be Franco Powers. Now, Franco is an industry recognized IT discovery expert and conference speaker. Franco's seasoned hands-on experience as an IT executive for over 20 years. And he is Virima's solutions engineering director, and he's got the responsibility of spanning the pre and post-sales solutioning and implementation of Virima's product line. Now, before I kick it over to Will and Franco and the Virima team to speak, I'd like to just share a little bit more about who we are here at Flycast Partners. Now, at Flycast, we're designated as a veteran-owned small business, and we've been around for over a decade, since 2011. We've worked with over 1,600 companies in North America during that time. We've helped them evaluate, purchase, implement IT service management solutions, and really navigate through their ITIL journey. We've done over 5,600 implementations, and that can range from implementing specific solutions to providing the ongoing support or administration for those tools, as well as getting into different types of ITIL training, ITIL process consulting, utilizing our proven methodology that helps serve our clients. We represent over 7 ITSM solutions on the market. You know, I know we have a wide range of audience today. Some organizations using a simpler help desk tool for ticketing, some using some of the most robust solutions on the market. You know, we really have a tool that kind of fits everybody's needs depending on how your business goes. If you're looking to expand outside of IT, if you're looking to expand into really high ITIL maturity and provide that next level of modern customer service, we have all that available. And that's one of the challenges we've seen from many of our clients over the years, is really driving that CMDB project and having to consistently maintain and drive value to the business. So for that reason, I'm really excited about the partnership we have today with Virima, because now we at Flycast have a much greater capacity and means to help our clients not only build, but to maintain and really make CMDB a reality. So I'd like to turn it over to Will Johnson. You know, I've been in the ITSM space probably about half the time you have, Will. You know, so you know, I'd like to kind of throw it at you and say, you know, what have you seen? You know, we've seen those experiences. How have you seen CMDB projects, you know, fail in the past?
Absolutely, absolutely. So first off, I just want to say thank you, David, and the entire Flycast team. We are very excited for the opportunity to partner with you all in this presentation and talking about the value of a CMDB and the CMDB challenges. So thank you for that opportunity, and also thank you for y'all's partnership. We've enjoyed working with you guys and done quite a few deployments with y'all. So thank you for those opportunities. But guys, let's talk today about why CMDB adoptions fail, right? And then we can kind of go into how Virima helps ensure you can overcome some of these challenges, right? So a lot of the industry analysts out there, right, they say that around 80% of all CMDB projects fail, right? Why is that, right? Well, there's a myriad of reasons, but there's some commonality there as well, right? One is manual updates, right? You can't keep a CMDB up to date if you're continually having to manually update that CMDB, right? The other thing is incomplete data, right? You're only getting a certain subset of your infrastructure, right? So while you may have some of your subnets, you don't have all of your subnets, right? And all the devices that are connected, right? So the data is incomplete, along with it being manual, which then really leads to that untrustworthy data, right? And once you get to a point that a CMDB is considered untrustworthy, the project has failed, right? People will no longer trust the information that you're providing to them, right? Now, along with that, there's also the challenge of limited resources, right? Everybody is overworked today, right? So again, why not have an automated system, okay, as opposed to manual updates, right? The other challenge can be limited accessibility, right? Only certain groups have access to that CMDB, right? That CMDB, especially a visualized CMDB, can be impactful across the organization, right? So open up the access to that CMDB to the other lines of business, right? And then really, it can also be not consumable or relevant, right? Is who in today's world really wants to go in and just look at forms on or fields on a form, right? If you can see that visually and see how things are interconnected, it's just much more impactful. So now that I've shared with you why CMDB projects fail, I want to now maybe take a step back and talk about Virima at a base level, right? Who we are, what we provide, and how we provide it. So first off, we are a hosted solution, right? We're hosted in AWS, okay? We have our SOC 2 Type 2 certification, which is a proof point that shows that we have our act together when it comes to our hosting, security, and business processes, okay? So what we have is a technology platform hosted in the cloud, and we have built a couple of applications on top of that technology platform. Today, we're really going to focus on discovery, okay? And with that discovery technology, that's where we have bundled our configuration management database, and then also the visualizations of the relationships that are in that CMDB, commonly referred to as dependency mapping, business service mapping, right? But it's much, much more than that. And we'll certainly get into those things here in a few minutes. So let me talk to you a little bit about the manual process and why that fails, and also that the limited scope and why that really impacts the success of CMDB projects. Okay, so what we do here at Virima to overcome that is we have a hybrid automated IT discovery solution. Okay, let's unpack that. Hybrid. Okay, we can discover the cloud, the data center, and the edge. Okay, so we can get to all the devices that are out there on your network. Okay, and we can do that through agentless and in some cases agent-based discovery probes. Okay, so that's going to ensure that you're getting all of the devices that are important to running your business. Okay, now it's also automated. Okay, but it's not a one size fits all automation. Okay, we understand that all subnets may not be created equal, right? Some are more critical to the business and others are static. Okay, so we allow you to really tune your scan frequencies based upon all those factors, right? So if you have a subnet that is pretty static, all right, maybe you scan that thing once a week. Where if you have other subnets that are very dynamic, all right, you're gonna maybe scan that 4, maybe even 5 times a day. All right. So what we do is a hybrid automated IT discovery solution. Now let's talk briefly about our architecture. So what you're seeing on the right-hand side in the middle is what I call our collector, okay? It is installed on a Windows server on-prem, okay? And it's going to collect data from the devices that you're looking to discover information about, okay? And it brings it in to that collector, and then it is pushed out to our CMDB in the cloud, okay? And what you're seeing on the bottom left is just a small example of the types of agentless probes that Virima provides today. So again, that's showing you, again, we're going to automate that discovery. We're going to have a broad breadth of the different types of devices that we can discover for you. And we're going to bring that back into one CMDB. Now, this is where things get different and really get exciting, is through the proprietary intelligence with Virima, our socialized learning, and our machine intelligence through our discovery and our CMDB, we are automatically able to provide these very vivid maps. And vivid stands for Virima's Visual Impact Display. All right. Now, I'm not going to get into too much of this because I would certainly want my colleague Franco. He does a much better job of showing this, and it'll be in a live environment. But what we can do for you is the different types of views that we provide are infrastructure relationships, application dependencies, communication flow, service mapping, network topology, and cloud relationships. Now, if you happen to be using an IT service management solution that we have a package integration with, you'll also be able to get these ITSM overlays. And here is an example of the common areas of integration with the most popular areas of integration. So right there in the middle, you see the ITSM. Those are the solutions that we integrate with out of the box today that will then give you those ITSM overlays. I'm going to let my colleague Franco touch on those in more detail. So thank you. And team, here's what I would encourage is if you have questions, put those into the chat. And we'll do our best to respond to those in the chat. If you happen to throw a question that I like to say kind of stumps the chump, we'll then get back to you via email with the answer to your questions. Okay. So thank you so much, Franco. Take it over, please, sir.
All right. Okay. So thanks, Will. Appreciate that. So I'm going to be demoing the Virima product, and I like to start here inside the business service map. So this is where we want to get to. This is our end result. This is the story we want to tell. And this is done with machine intelligence that you're looking at right now. So I'm going to zoom in, and we're looking at what we call our vivid BSMs. And these are basically vivid illustrations of these ecosystems. And a particular one that I'm interested in here is WriteFacts. So I have drilled down to a depth of 5. And I can see that this is a pretty intricate and very chatty ecosystem. There's a lot going on. And the question is, how do you get here? How do you tell this story? What do you have to do to actually see all of these different impactful visualizations? And I'm only showing you one right now. We'll come back here in just a little bit. So this all starts with scanning. And as Will showed with some of the architecture and the diagrams, the scanning takes place on-prem. It is a machine that you spin up, that you provision, and some customers like to call it the collector. We call it the discovery application server. And that is what is going to be running the scans. It is either a virtual machine or a physical machine. It is a Windows machine, and it is also hosting the credentials that give us the ability to actually interrogate machines and pass credentials and be able to scan them to the depth that we want to scan them for. And so in a typical situation, it would be a deep host scan, and this is packaged where it's going to get us Windows, Linux, network devices, etc., and the client, and this would be the client that would be on-prem. And then the IP range. It's just very straightforward, right, to get things going. Later on, if we have time, we can talk about some of the other details here, but what's really important is that you can run it immediately or you can schedule it and then set the schedule cadence that you want. So we start running. We're doing IP subnets, we're casting a wide net. That was part of the strategy that you've come up with. So now you're starting to see scan data. So where do you go see that data? Well, that's in recent scans. And this is where we're going to start seeing the successes, the failures, and even partials. And we have a troubleshooting guide that will show you, that's very verbose. We'll talk about all of the different types of scans and the possible errors. And the errors are always most likely going to be some sort of permissions issue. And the guide will get you right there to it. So I just quickly show you the interface here of what it looks like in the UI. So there was a one scan, excuse me, and there were 2 CIs that were picked up, a Windows host, Hyper-V, and it tells us the time it took, 3 minutes, and the time that it was executed and time it completed. So let's go back. So now we're seeing the scans, we know where to go, Where is all this data actually being stored? Well, it's going to eventually show up in the CMDB, which is where it was the precursor to me clicking on that business service mapping, is the discovered items. Now, the discovered items is an interesting area for the data. I like to call it kind of like a staging buffer. And why is that? Because this is where you're going to have your opportunity to introduce more machine intelligence. Out of the box, we do not have your machine intelligence configured inside of here. Why is that? Because each customer's use case is different. For example, you want to delete all your, remember, the use case here is the scenario is that we're casting a wide net, we're doing subnet scans. So we are probably getting, let's just say printers, let's pick on printers, right? All right, there's no printers in here. But if there were, we would set up automation to say, as soon as a printer comes in here, send it to the bit bucket. We don't want it because we don't want it to go to the CMDB. So remove everything we don't want that has been discovered out of here, and then set up some automation to move it to the CMDB as well. And once it's in the CMDB, create some more automation to run the processes that we want to run. So this is really, you know, this is where the analyzing occurs and where you're visualizing your scope. You've created your scope, now you're going to implement your scope. And this is where you let the machine do it, you can tell the machine how to do it. And those are called business rules, and they're very simple to set up, and that would be something that we would help you as a customer set up. While we're here talking about discovery, there's opportunities not only to scan, but let's say that you have, let's just say you've got a Department of Defense rack. You've got a customer that is that's the government, and you do not want to scan it, or you're a police department, or you're a city, and the police department doesn't want you to scan their NCIC and their FCIC systems, right? So, but you still want those to be part of the ecosystem. So just import them, and we make it really simple. You know, import CI. Well, what am I importing? I don't know. Well, just download the sample file. The sample file is going to show you what you need to have for and how you have to have it formatted, and then whiz bang, you just import it. And then once it's imported, move it to the CMDB. Okay, you would click on this and then move it to CMDB. Importing from AWS and Azure, same concept. You are importing objects from your AWS and Azure accounts. How does that differ from a machine that's actually spun up, an EC2 instance that is spun up, and it's a Windows server? Well, the Windows server will be scanned, and you will actually see it in the discovered items. So that is just distinguish between, you have two operational paths there. One is scanning into the cloud and getting those CIs that are there, but then also getting the metadata, which are all these objects for AWS and Azure. Okay, very, very simple to do and very impactful, because you're going to see this in the ecosystem as well in the business service maps. Discovery. How did we get started? We know where we want to get to. Where's the data? We've talked a lot about, you know, pulling data in here, pulling data in there. Where's this convergence occurring? It's going to converge all into the CMDB. All right. So in the CMDB, I am now able to appreciate the different types of CIs, which we call blueprints. So from printer to switch, router, Windows Server, HPUX, and even Azure and AWS objects, it's all going to be in here. Now, what about software? What about components? And you notice I use that term component, because those are inside the CI record. And while they do have their own unique identifiers, they are consolidated into the components view so that you can appreciate them better, instead of having you know, billions upon billions of records in your CMDB. I mean, just think, every piece of software, it would be cluttered. So it's tiered and it can still be accessed. So components. But let's talk about details real quick. What do I get? Once I've scanned a machine, what do I expect to see here? So you're going to get what you would think a machine talking to another machine is going to receive. And this is machine data. So asset primary info, details, BIOS, scroll through here, OS, right? Even relationship information. But let's stop right here for a second. Something that is unique to Virima that really empowers our customers is the ability to expand the schema. It's extendable, and you don't need to hire someone, a developer, to do it. It is no code. It is click. If you can conceive what it is you want and what the story that you want to tell in this piece or in this chapter, so to speak, metaphorically, migration details, maybe disaster recovery details, maybe business continuity details, audit details, and you have what are called human intelligence fields. The machine doesn't know, what the migration group is that you're going to decide in this particular thing. The machine doesn't know what date there's going to be a disaster recovery or continuity event test, right? So these are values that you can put in here. Very simple to do by importing them, and that would be more probably of an advanced class to show or webinar to show existing customers on how to do that. But very simple. Again, your FTE lift is minimal with our product. Data. What about reporting? What about the minutia? Installed software, Log4j, great example, right? Okay, that would be in components. And the answer is everything in here is reportable. What about the data and what can I report? Everything in here. So components, hard drives to IP connections, and everything in between. So installed software. I want to talk about this for a second because this is hugely important when we talk about service mappings. So a service mapping, this is the birth of a service mapping. It is identifying an application that is important. It's a tier 1 app, and you want it to be able to be conveyed in a service map as its own ecosystem. The question is, okay, SnapDrive. I want to know every machine that is running SnapDrive. Or let's go back to the Log4j. We've had an incident, Log4j is vulnerable. I want Log4j to be promoted and marked as major software. And once it's marked as major software, it will be scanned, and every device that has Log4j installed on it is going to show up in a business service map. You could put it in a report. You can socialize that data and then be able to have actionable data. So hugely important, hugely available for you to use, should you, as far as marking major software. I won't go through all these tabs, but the important ones, software and installed software, when we are talking about service mappings, those are hugely important because they can both be marked as major software. Windows updates. This is very important as well. And not only are you going to see the Windows updates, but you can also see the available patches. And you could apply them. If you wanted to use Virima to apply the patches, they can be applied as well, obviously following your change control process and methods. And IP connections and MMC certificates. And if there are some on here, let's click root. Yep, so there are some. And you can report on these as well. So now you're starting to see, hey, I can start really talking about my data, right? I can start talking about software versions that are expiring, certificates that are expiring, and having reports that are going to start popping up on dashboards. And those dashboards are going to start alerting. You could have integration with your ITSM, with overlays, etc. So let's go talk about that real quick. So business service maps. So I went ahead and I clicked on the business service map, and I can springboard to any of these devices and open a map for them if I want to. But let's talk about this SQL real quick. We're back where we started, which is at a level of 1, depth of 1. Put this up here a little bit so we can see that. At a depth of 1, I can see what SQL is talking to immediately. Okay. And what I see is I see some ITSM overlays. What does that mean? That means that there is, and Will showed this, there is integration already configured here. And what I am seeing, now I know this, so I know what these are. The exclamation is that there's an incident. There's also a scheduled change. And if I did see a red one, oh, here we go, red, this is a change that has already occurred. So when I go in and I look at these and I go back to ITSM tab, I could see, whatever it is, if there's a change, I believe that was a change. Yeah, there's a change there for Virima. So let's click on that, and I'd be able to see these changes that have occurred and what they're about. I'll just hover over them. But let's say this isn't Virima. Say it's Sherwell or it's Avanti, right? You'd be able to hover over these, and these are stored in Sherwell or Avanti. Okay, so that's what we say when we say ITSM overlays. That's what we mean. That's what we're talking about. Hugely impactful. It's your one-stop shop. All right, some of the different types of messages is what I like to convey here, right? Because what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about an ecosystem here, but all right, what about communication specifically? Tell me what I don't know. What don't I know about SQL 11? Well, let's say that the case is that SQL 11 is only supposed to talk to one box. It's supposed to go outbound, and we know that there's another box that it receives a connection from. Okay, that's great. That's what's been socialized, but that's not the story we see here. Forget the loop back, we don't care about that, but hey, we've got a public IP that SQL Server is talking to. So that's probably important. So this will culminate into two reports, this view that I'm showing you right here. It's called the server to server communications report, and it is authorized, and the server to server communications unauthorized. And this would be the unauthorized. These ghost records. What are we saying? We're saying that Virima doesn't know what this is. It has not been scanned. So we have no idea what it is. So in our mind, it's just like, well, it's unauthorized. I know it sounds scary, but now somebody validate this. But don't just validate the unauthorized, validate the authorized as well. Should SQL be talking to this box, and should this box be talking to these boxes? Make sure that that's what should be happening, okay? So let's go back to Vivid BSMs, and let's look at an application dependency mapping view. Notice it's grayed out. Well, that's because we need to be on an application. Remember I talked about springboarding. So right click on an app, hit open map, and let's ungray that view. And so now we can see applications and components talking to each other when we expand this. So we're able to tell different stories depending on what it is we want to know about a particular device, particular component, particular piece of software. And the story continues, right? From service topology for web servers to network devices, even affected business application view, right? What is the impact? An executive comes up and says, quick, I need to know. I want you to provide to me right now a list of everything that is impacted by the SQL Server 2008 on SQL 11. Okay, no problem. And we're only one click away. So we just zoom in. This is the impact. Well, that's great. I want to hold it in my hand. Okay, no problem. Let's just download it. So we can download it as SVG. Great for architects, right, and engineers. Goes right into Visio, PNG, or for that executive that wants it in an Excel spreadsheet. Boom, save it. It's going to download it and just email it to him or her. That simple. Very, very simple. And then it's going to give you the relationships inside of it. And there you go. And then you can format it and mess with it and do what you want. But this is really key right there, right? Very, very easy. Very simple, very intuitive, very powerful, and very verbose. It's where you want to get to. You want to get to that point where it's verbose and you can tell your story. Last thing I want to touch on is we're talking about data, lots of data. And what about those dashboards, right? What about, representing the different types of reports and KPIs and metrics, etc. So there's two journeys there. The first one is the reporting, which are the ad hoc reports. And then the second one is the net result of displaying that data, which either could be a person coming into the report module and just pulling out the reports, or the person could go to the dashboard as well and be able to pull those up as well if they've been published. So if I go to ITAM and configuration management, and then I go to dashboard. I'm going to open that up in the background while we look at this report. So end of life, that's a good one. Let's click on that. So again, no code. You don't need to hire a developer to make these reports. It's point and click, form a condition. And so the condition here is where it's a Windows server and it contains Windows 2003 or 2008 in the operating system, give me the host name, IP, OS, and OS version, please. So let's go to the CMDB dashboard. And let's wait for that to spin up. So remember I was talking about machine intelligence and human intelligence. So there is a metric dashboard and executive summary. That executive summary is going to cue in on data that is specific to properties within the CMDB. In this case, this one's going to showcase a use case of a data center migration metric. Why the heck are we talking about that? Well, it's just showcasing the ability for you to take the data. You already have a CMDB. Why have somebody in the corner over there with a spreadsheet tracking all of this? Just, leverage your data. It's already in here. So just start leveraging it. But I'm going to turn it back over to Dave or Will.
Cool. Thank you, Franco. And yeah, I've seen the product in action many times, and I'm just still amazed how Virima has come such a long way in providing a powerful enterprise solution that can be deployed so easily and quickly. And those are some of the things you showed us today. The fast and easy deployment, how you can start realizing value right away in here. We're also able to see in that demo. I love how you showed, how well that mapping can be done, and the visualization is great. So this allows for organizations not only to kind of reduce the manual efforts into keeping that information updated and useful and accurate, which gets to the point of business value and where our clients are seeing and always been thriving for that is that increase operational efficiency. Will mentioned earlier about the causes of outages and poorly planned or misplanned changes, and now Frank was able to show the example of how those can be alerts, and you can see that crossover with everything that you're doing in your IT service management solution. So what we really wanted to hit on was how scalable this solution can be. Not everybody has to jump off and bite off the entire solution at once. You saw how Franco was able to jump in and just do the discovery and just start pulling in those attributes into a nice, organized way. I just wanted to say and kind of finish with how do you make CMDB a reality? We have two options through our partnership with Virima. One, if you like what you saw and you're interested in it, how does this apply to us as an organization? Talk to us here at Flycast. We can help you evaluate the value, build that business plan, and get you an instance of Virima that you can start scanning, using, and then we're here along the way to help with any additional training and setup that you may need. And if you're looking to tie it into your current ITSM solution, whether that be ServiceNow, Sharewell, Avanti, et cetera, we're here to help you, get that integration started. But the other option, Flycast Partners, we're a managed service provider. And so I know a lot of organizations, even with the value that comes from this solution, you're not ready to take that full step. We do provide not only CMDB as a service, but the entire suite of what you saw here today. If you're looking just to get a better handle on your IT assets and what you own and perform those things like, hey, do we need to update our patches of all of our Windows, applications? We're able to do that here at Flycast Partners. We're able to take the ongoing administration of the solution onto our backs and provide this to you at a much faster, return on investment for you. So those are the two options. It doesn't mean you have to know which one matters to you the most right now, but if you are interested, info@flycastpartners.com. You can hit up our website, fill out a form. We would be happy to take you through not only a demonstration of the solution, but help you understand the business case and understand how much of this solution can come out in phase one. We've had a lot of clients who start with just discovery, so that's where we can come in, assist, and understand your business and really go over those different options with you. So Will, Franco, I definitely want to thank you both for jumping on and talking with us today. I know we could probably dive into a lot more topics and features in the product, but I think we accomplished what we wanted to today, which is give our audience a quick preview of the solution and the technology that we're now able to offer to our client base. So I thank you both for coming on and talking with us today.
Absolutely, and thank you for the opportunity.